wonderful things about you, then who's gonna say it besides your parents, right? So make sure you get along very well with your coaches. You're very coachable. So when we call, because especially we don't have a video, or we have a video that is not pretty clear, we want to call the coach, and that's very important for us to stay connected.
Guys, your club coach, parents, family, you have not gone into his office and said, we are very interested in the college recruiting process. We would like our son to have an opportunity to find a good place to play college soccer. Are you going to be a reference, and how can you help us? Who do you know? Those should be questions you should be asking your club coach and getting answers on. If you have a club coach that is not supportive of that work, you need to seriously consider moving to another club. Because that individual is ultimately going to be a huge part of a college coach's decision process in terms of somebody, a real soccer reference who they can call, get good information about, and ultimately make a decision whether they want to pursue recruiting you or not. Jason?
You know, the one thing I will say on what you were saying there, Simon, as far as, you know, your club coach helping you out, you know, a lot of us coach club soccer. I'll tell you one thing: if you come to me and tell me, you know, help me out, I'm first going to ask you what you've done to help yourself. Okay? And if you don't have a list of schools that you want to go to, and there's a reason why you want to go to those schools, and you've done your homework, and you know what you can do and where you can get into, so if you've got a 2.6 and you're saying you want to go to Stanford, that's not going to work out. Okay, so you need to do your homework and be prepared, then go to your club coach, then go to your club director, say this is the homework I've done, these are the email addresses of where I'd like to go to, and here's their cell phone numbers, here's their names, can you please give them a call, and also you have references yourself that you can put down so that we can contact those references.
All right, do your homework. It's probably going to come up from the panel a lot in terms of kind of how they look. They want kids to call them who are informed. If you're calling Coach Russo, you better know that Denison is in Ohio and not in, you know, Scandinavia or something, right? You should have a sense of what the school is, how many people go there, what do they offer. I mean, all these schools have different strengths in terms of an academic workload, you know. So you should have a sense of if this school's a fit for you in that way as well.
And then out of nowhere, Ziggy Schmidt, the Sounders coach, we grew up together. He offered me an assistant job at UCLA, and I've been in 32 years as a head coach director of soccer, college soccer. And I'm going to tell you right now, you hit the books, you train hard, the world's yours. But don't pass up a good college opportunity. Don't pass up the opportunity to get a great education. You're hearing from the dark side. First, I was happy to be a pro. I could help out my family. But for you now, get the books, keep going. Don't be lazy like I was, and you're going to have a great college career.
Gentlemen, I mean, again, we call this the academic 50. The majority of schools here are extremely highly ranked academic universities. I've seen most of your GPAs because you submit them to us as part of coming here. And you're all doing very, very well. The importance of a high GPA is not to show anybody how smart you are. What it tells these coaches is that you're well organized and that you're able to be accountable for the work. And when you get on a college soccer team, they need individuals who are able to deal with the stress and pressure of traveling around the country, getting on airplanes, getting on buses, very inconvenient travel schedules relative to your work schedule, and still being able to maintain good grades. Each of these schools has tremendous supports built in to help the student athlete achieve in the classroom. But if you struggle in that, if you do not take that seriously now, you're really digging a hole for yourself. The biggest part of it is the first thing, going to Coach Kano, what he was saying about UCLA and San Diego State. All of these schools have minimum requirements to get in no matter how good a soccer player you are. And a lot of these guys call me about coming to the Academic 50. I was talking to Coach Russo, and he said, you know, he goes down to the Development Academy showcase, and you can see great players there. He's saying, that kid will be a great fit at Denison. But he has this extra level of red tape to get through, but he has to be a great student as well. And there's not a lot of leeway in that. If you're a great student, you leave the most doors open. And that is something that is incredibly important to your ambition to be a college player. It does two things. One, it lets the coach know that you're responsible and accountable. And two, it leaves the maximum number of doors open relative to your soccer ability, so that you'll be able to make an excellent choice, both academically and soccer-wise.
You know, one thing that I tell the youth kids that I coach and help with in a club is, first and foremost, the experience that you're about ready to embark is your experience. It's not your parents. Okay, as much as mom and dad want to get involved, as much as they want to tell you where to go, okay, it's your experience. And so you need to do your work in that. Okay, one way you can do that, we've talked about it before at other exact camps, all right, is to pick 5, 6, 7, 10 things that you don't think you can live without at a school that you're looking for. That can be the beach, that can be girls, that can be education, that can be whatever it's going to be. It's your list. Okay, and once you do your homework and you put it on the list, then you can get on the computer and you can start looking at the schools that have those things that you're looking for. Okay, if you don't like cold weather, you probably don't want to go back east. Okay, if you don't like hot weather, you probably don't want to go to Arizona. So you've got to go through and find out what works exactly for you, and then you can start the process with it. By starting that process, then you can go and start emailing coaches. You can go to camps like this to be seen. You can go to, each school has their own camps. You can go to that school's camps. But ultimately, you need to reach out and try to get in touch with somebody. And the one thing I'll say is, I mean, I've only been here a day, but I have talked to some other coaches. I've only seen probably 3 or 4 kids that have actually come up and introduced themselves, actually said hello, and the coaches I've talked to have said that's the same way. So if you're expecting to step on a field, okay, and just be recruited because of the way you play, you better play like Jordan Morris. Okay? And if you don't know who that is, then that's where you should start. Okay? But that's how you would have to play in order to step on the field and just be seen and be recruited. If not, you've got to go out and get yourself recruited. Introduce yourself to people. Send emails. Call them. Get in touch with them. Introduce yourself. Get in front of that coach numerous times to give yourself the ability and the opportunity to get recruited by that school.
Remind them that you're out there and that you're truly interested. Find a single coach within that group of 6 that you can walk up to and say, "Hey, my name's Jordan. I'm from Pasadena, California. I play for this club, and I'm playing in this game. Please take a look at me. I'm very interested in Davis," or whatever. And it just gives Jason like a little bit of an inkling of, hey, this kid, he took the time to ask me to take a look. Maybe I will watch him for just a few minutes, just to see what he's got. And that's really why you're here. Now, just because you met Jason at lunch doesn't mean that Jason necessarily will remember when he goes to the field that you met at lunch. Or it might not stand out at that given moment. There's no excuse not to remind the important people on your list over and over and over again what you're doing at any given time. Because if you can leave this camp and write them an email and say, "Hey Jason, I know I saw you during that first training session, and then again I was in the spotlight game that evening, and I know you were there. We talked before both. I'd love to continue the conversation, just get a little bit more feedback." If you leave camp and write that email, there's not a coach here who will not respond positively to that. And look at you as an individual who has put in the effort, and if you give them that serious amount of time, I promise you, they will give you it back. Right? They all want you to succeed, and even if the news isn't what you want to hear, even if it's, I don't really see you at Davis, there's usually a budge, and Jason has a huge network of people, and these guys will help you connect if you are persistent, okay? So keep that in mind. I have a theory about why this happens. My theory is this. If you come to camp and you write to Mick before camp and you say, "Hey Coach Giordano, excited to be at Exact Camp," if you protect yourself by not talking to him for 3 days and then just follow up, you know that ultimately you can't really get the bad news from Mick that you're not good enough to play at Wake Forest. So it's kind of comforting. It's like, you didn't really fail because you didn't have the guts to ask him the question. Okay? Don't be that. Ultimately, this process sucks, guys. Everybody's going to tell you you're not good enough to play for their school. That's how it starts. You're going to go down the line and they're going to be like, you're not good enough. You can't play. I don't see you as a fit for our program. Your grades are fine, but no, as a player, you're not here. You're not physically there, whatever. You're going to hear it repeatedly. And it's going to be really, really hard to hear that information. And it's going to suck, and you're going to probably cry sometimes because it's going to feel like it's impossible. And then, ultimately, if you are persistent, I promise you the opportunity will present itself. But we hate failing, and so we choose not to by not asking.